Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick. So, if you have not listened to last week's episode, I will say I have gotten more feedback on that episode than any other episode, probably for at least the last year. Dave Michael, was there an S? I don't remember. Dave Michaels. We'll add an S. There should be an S. I don't think there is an S though. But anyways, he doesn't care. So you guys loved this episode, and that's awesome. So we'll add more topics in on this, um, or more episodes in, I should say, on this topic because you liked it. You really liked it. Now, it's interesting, and I think this is interesting, is I also interviewed his wife today. Okay. Now they're speaking on completely separate things, but if you listen to that episode, he's referencing that he's married to a chiropractor and like what they're doing in their clinic. Some of you were like, I want to know the buyout. Like, what did they do? Like, she's going to talk about that today. So I just thought I moved her to they were kind of recorded a while apart, but I was like, I think that we should put them back to back. One, I think it's really cute. They have the same background. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, wait a minute, this guest has the same background as last week because I know you're paying attention to the details like that. I'm sure you are. But so this is kind of that part two almost to his story and recommendation for what Cairo's doing. And here's some of those unanswered questions in today's episode. But really, Kate's coming on to talk about how she, as a mature chiropractor, got into the side hustle of real estate. Also, if you are like interested in this realm at the very end, Kate is going to talk about an opportunity that you can get involved in, like right now, January of 2025, and probably for the next month or two. I don't really know how long, maybe 6 months, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. On a syndicate opportunity now, where the terms actually sound pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. Well, I'm not involved in it. So that is, I feel like if I do say so myself, it's kind of like, I know it's a humble brag, like being like, I think Blue Hills Chiropractic is the greatest chiropractic model in the world. If I do say so myself, like, you would say so. I think my kid is the greatest. So I'm not involved, just so we're clear. All right. If you are listening to this, there's a good chance that the Multi Passionate Chiropreneur program is closed, bitches. It's closed. I don't have to talk about that thing until next December. So I'm sorry for all of you who are like, Lauryn, I love you, but this is just not my year. Or Lauryn, I love you. I already did your program. Or Lauryn, I love you, but I don't want to give you one of my dollars. I'm sorry that you had to go through the last month of sales. This is our third launch, third six-figure launch, and it's really every time we go through a sales program, like I paid for a pre-launch training, like how to do pre-launch, which is not the sales thing. It's like the period walking up to it. And so just every year it just gets that sales process of launching something virtually gets more and more interesting, a little more intense. And so I'm thinking, I don't know, like this is, if you are interested in seeing what like my launch process was, like emails, texts, like what all of that information of like how we launch the program. Like if you're more interested on the back end of things, shoot me a DM because I don't have it. Like I'd have to like create it and paint it all together for you type of thing. But I don't even know if that's worth like something you guys are interested in. So if you're nosy and you want to know, I can teach you. I can train you to sell the shit out of something. Well, you got to believe in it. Okay. So, anyways, any other updates? I don't think so. Let's get into this. Okay, Dr. Kate gave me a much better bio than her husband. By the way, I I know from Dave that he thought it was hilarious. The whole, again, if you listened to last week, because he was helping Kate get her like audio and all that working. So I told him, I was like, Dave, your episode's airing, and I totally roasted you in the beginning of the episode. He was laughing. Just in case any of you are wondering if I hurt the feelings of a 60-year-old man, I did not. He's got tough skin. He's been through some shit. So, Dr. Kate has a better bio, though. I didn't have to use AI to make this one. Dr. Kate is a chiropractor, entrepreneur, and real estate investor with over 25 years of experience as a business owner and leader. She has built thriving chiropractic practices and wealth through real estate, starting with commercial office spaces and growing to focus on large apartment complexes. Passionate about empowering others, Kate helps chiropractors diversify through real estate investing to achieve passive income and long term wealth. All right, let's take a breather and pray, and then we'll jump in. Dear God, thank you so much for real estate. Thank you for diversification. Thank you for these brains that are meant to continue being tested and learning. Help anybody who feels stagnant with their energy be re energized through whatever message you have and path you have for them laid out in 2025. God, I want every single person listening to know that you truly have built a beautiful life for them, but they just have to take the action, that you are going to send the opportunities, that they are the ones that have to do the daily work, to make the phone calls, to take the action, to plan the meeting, to have the tough conversations, to go to get that inspiration at church, at friend groups, and all of that, to read the book. And so I ask you to inspire them to grab what you have already created for them. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, folks, here is my conversation with Dr. Kate Gress. Enjoy. Okay, well, welcome to the podcast. I'm trying to think, I almost feel like I'm going to I'm going to budge your episode to the like top. So you come right after your husband, just because I think it's cute.
Okay.
So Dave was on. We were talking Dave. You're married to Dave Michael, who was a guest. We'll say last week. I don't know, whatever. If I bump this episode up, but we're talking about completely different things. But it is funny because if you're watching on YouTube, people would go like, "That is the same background."
Yes, it's his office, which I overtook now.
You don't have a home office?
Well, okay, this was both of our offices. It's like a L-shaped desk here.
It looks very like man and like
Yeah.
corporate. Like I feel like you need a girly office. Like
Yeah, so and it was like two I need my own space. So
Mhm.
then I moved upstairs. This is like a finished basement, so we finished off the office. Moved upstairs and overtook a spare bedroom, so I have like a little office there, but I kind of work from home and my clinic, so yeah.
Yeah, I've already taken up so I have a corner, like a teeny little recording corner. Um this is fake. This is a green screen. If
Great.
you can't tell as like a hand gets removed. But like I would love to like have like this in reality type of thing, but I'm already taking up so much square footage. Our daughters, I made them share a room. I mean, it's a big ass room. It's like 900 square feet. It's like the entire attic type thing of an
Oh,
old house.
that's
It's
perfect.
got a bathroom, but I made them share so I could take over this small room and turn it into like this walk-in closet slash like my makeup room and like a giant mirror. And I'm like, okay, can I take? And then I also took over a room for like a home gym. And so now I'm like, oh gosh, taking over
Or you gotta buy
another.
a new house.
Now I got to do this. Well, actually, I was talking. All right, this is the podcast, by the way. We're gonna get to your shit in a minute. Um, so I do you do vision boards at all?
I haven't recently,
I
which
haven't
I was
recently.
thinking I should for this year. Really should
Fair
do a
enough.
vision board again. My
So
daughter just did one.
I haven't done one in a while, but I did one like a virtual one now that is my like lock screen of my phone. And I am in love with vintage Broncos, but not just those, like because I don't want a car without air conditioning or anti-lock brakes or power steering or airbags. So like I need like it refurbished to be like all of the amenities of a modern car,
Yeah,
but like that beautiful old green color of like the Broncos, but they're
yeah.
$250,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah,
so
for
like
that, I would have to have heated seats, steering
well, I
wheel.
mean, it'd be cheaper if you did it, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, well, shit. So So 2 years ago when I found that out, I was like, "Well, I guess I'm never owning one of those." But now I'm like, "Okay, here's the deal. I mean, if you bought a brand new SUV right now, those are like $100,000." And I'm like, it's not crazy unrealistic to think that one day I might buy one." But then I was talking to Kurt, so it's on my vision board, okay? So, like, it's on my vision board, this gorgeous thing. So because it's my lock screen, I'm seeing it all the time. So I've been talking about it like crazy, which I think is the point of a vision board. So I'm telling Kirby, I'm like, "So this Bronco." And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I can't picture parking that Bronco in our garage because our garage is this like old one car garage. There's so much shit in there. Like there's a broken window. I'm like, I can't park a $250,000 car in that garage. And he's like, I guess I get that. I'm like, so what if do you think we could tax strategize to build a home office over top of a brand new garage? And do you think that we could get She Slay's money to pay for that? And he's like, maybe. We'll talk to our tax strategist. We'll get a plan. I'm like, okay. So
I think
I
it's worth a conversation
I
with
think
your,
so too.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then I need it heated. So then it needs to be a heated garage. But if I have a $250,000 car, of course it needs to be in a heated garage.
Right, right, yeah.
So it's getting expensive. So this
And
car
then I
now
don't
is
know about, I don't know about cars. That's not like I'm not into like
I don't
vintage
need
or anything, but you think, okay, you buy like a brand new one, obviously they're just going to depreciate. They're not going to be worth money in a few years, but like a vintage car, I don't know, maybe they appreciate. So maybe that's a
they
good
do. So Curb, I
idea.
didn't even know this. Look at us. Like we're just like figuring out life here. Because it's a vintage car, Kirby, what did you say? Like you can like take a loan out against it? It's an asset
There's
now?
like there's equity built up in it.
Yeah. It appreciates in value, something, something like that. I know. I know. So,
I should ask my business partner,
uh-huh.
Dr. Nicole DeBrew. She bought some 1950 something Corvette that she's restoring.
She's restoring it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's not doing the physical work herself.
Oh,
She's
okay. I'm like,
helping
wow.
do it. Yeah. I don't know
Mm.
much about it. I haven't asked her too much, but
Yeah.
yeah.
My uncle restores like he like restores vintage cars and he's like, "Lauren, you you don't want a vintage car. They just are constantly you're having to repair and you don't know anything. I don't know how to change out a light switch in a house, let alone like so I
Mm,
barely. So anyways, hi, how you doing?
good.
So what
Yeah.
would be on your vision board for 2025? You're like out of the chiropractic office, you're doing real estate, like
Well, I am still in the chiropractic office.
mm,
I still have my clinic. So, yeah, so I go there. I don't see patients any longer. I've
mhm,
been out of that for a while. But I still have the clinic. And my plan is, I'm kind of going off of what your question was
yeah.
here.
Oh, it's good. Somebody should keep us on track.
But so my plan basically is to sell my clinic in 2026. So that's
Okay.
been the plan for the past 11 years. So I brought in one of my
Hold up.
associates.
The
Yeah.
plan was to sell it in 2026 for the last 11 years, or you've been planning on selling your clinic for the last 11 years and you finally set a date?
So 11 years ago, I
Okay.
set a plan, I set a date. Well, I said when I turn 50, when my daughter
Yep.
graduates high school, I'm going to sell the clinic.
Yep.
So my
Okay.
daughter turned 18 and graduated this last spring. I just turned 50 last March. So I'm a little bit behind,
Okay.
but
But a lot of docs are always like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sell it in a couple years, a couple years, a couple years,"
yeah.
and then it just kinda keeps but no,
So
this
so
was
we yeah, so we went to my associate doctor and said, "Okay, you know what? When this was like 2 years ago now, like maybe in December of or a year, no, 2 years ago. And we said, "Hey, we're gonna push that out a little bit if you're okay with that to 2026." She's like, "Yeah, that's totally fine." I just felt like needed a little bit more time and more time to get things up and going with my real estate more.
Mhm,
So that is the plan. So she's been with me for 11 years,
and she
that's
wants to own.
yes, yes.
Was that did you when you hired her, like, did you guys have that discussion of, like, "I would like to sell this when I'm 50, do you think you'll want to buy it?"
I don't think I'm trying to recall. I don't think so. I think at the time it was she, was an intern.
Okay.
So, she, came and did her internship with us, and then I hired her to stay on, and then I'm not really sure. It wasn't too long after she was hired that I had the conversation, I think, knowing that
Okay.
someone but I've had multiple associates. So I think at the time when I hired her, I had another associate that I didn't know what her plan was.
Mhm.
And then she ended up moving down to Milwaukee. So that didn't work out. So
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, you have a big clinic. So, without obviously, I'm not asking you to overshare details or whatever, but like, how have you financially, like, knowing, like, okay, did you guys have a contract put in place a couple years ago? And then, like, as much as you can share or whatever, like, how have you financially been setting it up so she can afford to buy your clinic?
Well, okay, so a couple years ago, we came to her, we're like, we need to really kind of get things more set in stone. So
Yep.
came up with a price,
Yep.
had a meeting with her, not super detailed paperwork, but just, kind of non-disclosure and, you
So,
can't go
basically, the price wasn't going to go up or down.
right,
Right.
right.
Yep.
So for her, okay, we set the price. So if we grow the practice,
She gets a deal.
she gets a deal.
Yep.
So, and I'm good
And
with
it
that.
also incentivizes her to not let the practice drop either, because
Right.
then she's gonna overpay, yeah. And I've
Yes.
heard that from multiple people that it's like, it's important you set the price and, like, that's what it's gonna be, because 'cause you're gonna keep wanting to grow your practice. It's not like you're gonna be like,
Right.
"Okay, well, like because you get all that extra profit in the
Yeah.
meantime of the years while
Yeah.
you're still owning, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's grow it as big as we can.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's kind of what we did with her a couple years ago. We set the price. We kind of talked about, financing and what she'd need, so, have you thought about that? Yes. And she's putting money aside. And we talked
Okay.
about
So
different things like with
she's
loans.
so she's doing her own savings thing so she can get pre-qualified or get qualified from a bank.
Yes. Hopefully.
Okay,
So,
got it.
yeah. I mean, hopefully that will be the
And
case.
then your plan is to do one transaction
Yes.
as long as she gets approved from the bank. Eh
Yeah, I think that's it. We haven't really discussed those details for sure. I mean, we have to
'Kay.
have some meetings with our accountant and
Yep.
CPA and
I
go
mean,
over.
these are the details that I mean, so I posted something a couple days ago that was 17% of chiropractic clinics actually sell.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
That's it. That's
Mhm.
according to Jay LaGuardia, and I trust that he's probably
Oh,
up on yeah.
yeah,
And so it's like, "Oh, that's it?" And I think what it is so many chiropractors are like, "Well, I'm not ready to sell yet." So therefore, they're not talking and planning yet. And I'm not ready like, and I had Janice Hughes on the podcast. Woo! Gosh, I don't know. It's so funny to look back, like, when you've done almost 300 episodes, it's like, "When was she on?" It was like 2 years ago type of thing.
yeah,
And we, she was just talking about how, like, a lot of times you need, like, a 5-year ramp is, like, a real nice, comfortable even 10 year like, it's just one of those things where having that ramp and so many chiros are like, "Okay, I'm ready now for sale." And
yeah. And I
so
think too, it's kind of like I'm wondering how for me, like it's gonna be like this was kind of my baby. I
yeah,
started to practice from scratch
it is your baby.
26 years ago. Um,
You had this before children?
yeah,
Yeah, me too. So I, like, often reference my clinic as my first baby.
yeah, yeah, basically. Yeah, I don't think I had my first. Let's see, I opened in 1999, long time ago, and then my first child was born in 2002.
So when did you start to, like, really remove yourself from practice?
Probably, 20, maybe 17
2017.
ish, something around there. My 17, 18.
Did you have to one thing that a lot of chiropractors really deal with as they're starting to remove themselves is this, like, guilt that, like, "Oh, I have Fridays off, but the rest of my staff does not." And they, like, feel this, like Yeah, they just there's really no other word except, like, they just feel guilty that other people are working in their clinic and they are not.
Yeah. I maybe I had that a little bit, but not a ton, I don't think, because I still, I'd be at home working,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah, and
know?
every
So
entrepreneur is shaking their head going, "Oh god, yeah, I'm
yeah,
working." And that's where I'm like, "But you're still working," but they they're like, "But my team doesn't know I'm working."
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, "Do they
I
not though? Are you sure they don't know
I
you're
try
working?"
to make it clear to them that, "Hey, you know what? I'm just working from home. If you need me, call me, text me, email me,
Yeah.
whatever you need to do." And they kinda know. I mean, I've had my staff is pretty long term. I've had
Yeah.
them for a while, and they kinda know I'm kind of a workaholic, so
Yeah, and that's all right. So we're not super helpful in this scenario because it's like we're workaholics. So it's like our staff knows, like, oh, you're working. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
working on Saturday or at this time or that time. I think if you start dropping the ball on things for your team, that's where maybe that rift would go of like, okay, so you said you're pulling back a shift so you have more CEO time, yet you seem just as frazzled and disorganized as you were when you were adjusting. But also,
yeah,
I feel like we so often think that that's almost a reliance of like, I'm going to pull back, but don't you worry, I'm working. And it's like, but you don't have to, right? Like, that entrepreneurship, like when you're the owner, it's this weird beast where it's like, in order for there to be balance, you sometimes do need to like go golf on a Tuesday
right.
from 2 to 5. Like, and yeah, your team is working. And yes, if I get a Teams message on the seventh hole of like, how should I respond to this? Like, yes, many a times been like, hold on, I'm just messaging the team quick type of thing. But like, I don't know. I think there's some kind of insecurity more so on a personal level for docs who are afraid of what their team will think. I think those same docs just will struggle themselves with being like, no, it's okay that it's midweek and you're not working right now. Like a lot of them probably came from like two parents that worked 8 to 5 and like you were lazy if you didn't. And so I think it's probably much more of a personal root issue for those
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And yeah, I think, yeah, and for me, they kinda know. They'll know I'll be working on the weekend, and I'll come in on Monday and say, "Okay, I did this, this, and this,
Yeah,
so go get me this," or whatever,
yeah. And
so
then I did have one staff member of a long time actually once make a comment, of just like, some of us are just what this was, oh my God, I don't even know what year this was because it's probably like 10 years ago. And she was like, some of us are just wondering like what you do when you like and let me tell you, she no longer worked for us within 2 weeks of that statement. Like, yeah,
yeah.
because it's just so obvious of like, oh, you don't trust. Okay. Yep. You don't trust me as your leader. Therefore, you have
Mhm,
to go type of thing. So,
mhm.
so what did you start to like? What kind of systems and procedures did you realize you needed to have in your clinic to run without you?
Well, it wasn't that big of a transition because I'm kind of a person who like, okay, systems, procedures, like from day one, I've always been like, that's important. And so we've always had those. Then it was kind of a gradual step down, I think. It
Yep.
wasn't like I was in seeing patients full time and then all of a sudden I'm not.
Yeah.
It was kind of over years. I kind of gradually
One shift at a time type of
cut
thing.
back, like, I go from seeing patients and taking new patients to I'm just gonna start seeing my wellness patients. Those are my people. And then cutting back, I think, hours. Like I've got, a couple hours on Wednesday morning and a couple hours on Thursday afternoon and a couple on Monday morning, whatever it might be. I don't even
Yep.
remember what the hours were. But it was kind of that. So then people kind of got used to it. I wasn't taking new patients. Um, and then, so I had all those systems and procedures in place. New patients would go to the other doctors. And then kind of slowly, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I kind of cut back just to the wellness people. And then I think I just decided, okay, I want to be done. So and I had,
Yeah,
um
so you don't adjust at all. So, like, what did you had been adjusting for so long at that point. You've got, like, your OGs, you've got patients that, like, you want to adjust them. How
yeah.
did you yeah, what was that like going to, like,
There
0
was
hours
probably
adjust?
okay, so yeah, so there was a few now that you say that. So like so then I cut back to my wellness patients and just saw those and then they had to conform to my hours. And some of them were like, "Okay, this isn't working." I'm like, "That's great.
Yep,
You can see Dr. So
yep,
and so or
yep,
Dr.
there's a
So."
couple that hold on, you're like, "Okay, so you're only here Monday from 1:30 to 3:15. Okay, I can do that, I can do that." And you're like, "Can you though?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." They do it for, like, 2 months, 3 months, and they're like,
Yeah.
I might have to move to Thursdays." And you're like, "It's okay."
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of the thing. So some of them had to go to a different doctor. So I'm like, okay, good, that works. Some of them just like there's a few that like, nope, they only wanted to see me, and it's like, oh, okay, well then you got to come in on these times. But then they were used to the other doctors too. You know, the other doctors had been there for so long, and I'm sure the other doctors had seen them if I was out or on vacation. So that wasn't so foreign to them. And and then they were just kind of yeah, I think they just kinda gradually got used to it and knew, and that was that. So,
Mhm. But how did you emotionally like, how did you go down? What was that process for, like, you going down to 0?
it was totally good.
It was? You didn't have, like, any, like, itchy hands? Like, I feel
Honestly, no. Okay, like, I love chiropractic, love
yeah.
the philosophy of chiropractic. It's awesome. I get adjusted regularly, adjust my family, whatever, but I really had no desire to adjust patients anymore. I just wanted out of that.
Mm, okay, so you were mentally done.
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
was just like, I don't wanna do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that
I
makes
like
sense. Why
running the
would you go down
business.
to 0 hour? I guess I was wondering if in my head, the real estate stuff was becoming really interesting and traveling was becoming, because like I picture, I would like to be able to take our girls for like 4 to 6 weeks to Europe in the summer before they leave. Well, and and like just in general, travel is so important with our lifestyle. And like I could picture because we do the multi-passionate chiropreneur in Q1 and it's such an intense time. And the sales period, I should do a podcast specifically on like the sales period because it is so intense. It's like 3 weeks. It's like if you had 3 weeks, because we only do the program once a year, to get all of your new patients for the entire year in your clinic. Like the amount of pressure of like this and that. And so like I can picture taking those 3 weeks and, like, doing that sales cycle from Costa Rica or something like that, like so, like, travel just is something that's really important that I can start picturing myself now being like, "I'm gonna take 3 weeks off here," and I can see a scenario where my staff would actually go, "We love you. You're great. You're a great CEO. But us depending on you, because right now, Monday's the only shift that is like, it's only me. Like, if I'm not there, like, and like the number of Mondays, I could just see him being like, it's kind of getting annoying us having to like, oh, Lauren's not here again. And so, like, and they're like, it's fine, you're gone. But like, we'd rather just not, like, we'd rather just move forward without you and you can pop in and adjust if you want. So
I could see them, yeah, being probably having that attitude.
I could see that, but, like, I think I'd be like, "But yeah," so you had gotten to the point where you were like, "I don't want to adjust anymore."
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to. And, so
I could was there a time period of, like, I'm just like, well, I could see being like, "I don't wanna have to adjust on Mondays all the time," but, like, in reality, did you go through, like, withdrawals of, like, "Oh, I'm I'm not going to the clinic. That's weird." "No, it's okay. This is a safe
no,
place for you to say no."
yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't it wasn't weird, and I think I just was, like, more getting into the mode of just doing more of the business stuff and working with the doctors, and I just like that better. So, yeah, I
Do
just
you
was
still get your license?
oh, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I have okay, so over Christmas, I had one of my doctors on vacation. He always takes vacation, that week. And then my other doctor, the one who's buying the clinic, she was supposed to be seeing patients the day after Christmas all day. So she had a busy day because she was seeing Dr. Matt's patient and her patients. So Christmas night, she called me and she's like, we are in the ER on our way to Marshfield because her baby had a seizure. Uh, yeah. So I'm like, okay. I said, don't worry about it. You go. They had to stay overnight. I'm like, I'll be there and seeing patients the next day. So
Got it.
I,
So you're the fill-in.
and
So
I
yeah,
haven't filled in for a long time because we have two doctors. So it's
right.
very rare that both of them are out. So this is probably the first time in years that I've had to like step in and be the only one seeing all the patients. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it was a pretty full day and it was good. I like connecting with people, but after I was done, I'm like, yeah, I don't
Okay, that was
do
good.
that. I
I'm
don't want to have to do that again.
glad I have off tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why. Sometimes I think, okay, so I've told Dave this. I'm like, sometimes I feel like the adjusting part is just so mechanical. And I know there's the art
Mechanical or
to it.
monotonous?
Well, yeah, probably monotonous is probably a better word. I mean, I like connecting with people, and honestly, if like you gave me the choice of adjusting versus like doing a report of findings, I'd be like, I'll go do the report of findings. I'd rather do the education and talk to people, kind of see the light bulb turn on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying, especially when you run a really wellness clinic type of thing where it's like, it's not challenging. These are they love it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then as you you're all right, so you're pulling back, you're pulling back, you're pulling back. At this
Mhm.
point, are you starting to fill in other parts of your identity, whether it's volunteering at your church or becoming on a state board or real estate, or were you just like kind of resting and recovering from like hustling your ass off for a while? Because
No,
obviously I know you're still running the practice, but
yeah.
like,
No, I don't think I like really took time off or like rested or anything like that. I think, because I've known for the past 10 years or whatever, 11 years that I'm going to be doing something else. I like being busy. I like having new challenges. So it's like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I get excited about? I think chiropractic for me kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, this is kind of boring. I
mhm. Oh,
hate to say
don't
that,
worry, it's
but
just us. Nobody's
yeah.
listening. This is also like you obviously don't listen enough because this is like if you're this is what I say all the time. Like this audience is very used to hearing like it's one of the issues. Like it is like, oh, oh, this is it. Like, I mean, and it's you feel like such an asshat because you're like, this is it. You're changing people's lives. And you're
Right.
like, no, I know, and that is cool. But
Mhm.
like
Yeah, and
it's
yeah,
always started, like, diversifying a little bit at the clinic of, like, I'm kinda like a mixer now. Like, I'm over here, like, doing
you know
shockwave, we got a decompression table. I don't know how to work it, my staff does, but, like,
oh, that's funny. But you know what? I feel like there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, and it used to be, "Oh, you're not a straight chiropractor, you do, EMS on people?" Okay, that's but I feel like just it's so different now, especially compared to like when I first started in chiropractic and just the
How
whole
so?
healthcare in general, insurance, that whole thing. When I started, it was like, okay, everyone had insurance. They had $100, $200 deductibles. That was,
Damn.
yeah, you could bill, keep billing and they'd pay
That's
it.
not
And
even the Mercedes 80s. You didn't start till '99. It
right.
was still that good then?
Yeah, it was. I mean, then slowly it got worse. Then it was like, oh, they have a $500 deductible. Like, that's crazy. So then, it just kept getting worse and, reimbursement, and we still take insurance, but, I think chiros coming out today are forced to do insurance or forced to do cash, sorry,
Yeah.
um, because they can't get into these networks, right?
They can't get
So
in, like, they won't let them in,
no,
or they wouldn't survive in it with,
no,
like,
I think they more are closed, they're closed. They maybe they won't let a lot of them won't let them in.
wow.
Um, I think, I mean, maybe some of them, you could ask Dave
Right.
that. He'd know more than I would about the insurance part, but so we're in all the networks, but does it really matter? Because I think everyone's cash, you know? I mean, how many people don't have a $5,000 deductible or $8,000 deductible, or my deductible's $15,000 for my insurance. So basically, people that come into your office, a lot of them, or in our office, are cash because they have to meet these high deductibles. And unless they've, been somewhere for something major, at it. Or, we have Medicaid patients.
Yep.
So
Which
uh,
Medicaid in Wisconsin is that's a mind fuck. So, I mean, it's like it's so interesting talking to people. I I wish, I'm sure you don't wish this because you take Medicaid. I wish Medicaid just gave like 6 visits and was just like that because they're like so in Wisconsin, for those non-Wisconsin chiros, Medicaid pays 24, 25 something, 25, 32, something
I
like
don't
you
even know,
Dave,
honestly.
it's like $25. And you get 20 visits,
Hmm.
and then you have to not submit for 30 days.
Yep.
Then I mean, honestly, they recommend to scramble your M99 codes and
Uh-huh.
you get a whole new 20.
Yep.
So, like,
Spell of illness.
yep. And they have been that way. And I'm going to knock on wood for you. No audits, no, like, just playing this weird ass game with patients where you're like, "Oh, this is your 20th visit. So you either have to pay cash for the next couple," and they're like, "I'll just take a break. I'll see you in a month." And you're
Yep.
like, "Awesome." Um, but here's the thing. I would play the well, ugh. So we got out because, like, I saw it and I was like, "There's no way in hell that they're not gonna start auditing people."
Hmm.
Again, I will knock on this desk for you, like, but somehow they haven't. But, like, I've been out of network
Dave
for
has started to get some audits for his
oh,
clients.
really?
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
can't and especially we were really pediatric, and we're
Yeah.
once a week type of people, so I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have a target on my back in the
Yeah.
state of Wisconsin of, like, the amount of kids we were seeing," because 60% of the kids in my county
Mhm.
are on Medicaid.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
like, I'm the only pediatric trained chiropractor. So, like, when I was in network, like, everybody of course, they wanted to come to the best and have
Yeah.
and so I was like, "Oh my gosh." So it was honestly, we were more a fear of, like, what would we do if because we were collecting, like, I don't know, like, 30 to $40,000 a month from Medicaid or, it was
Yeah.
outrageous. And,
Yeah.
so it was like, we would be fucked if we got audited. Like, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, Kirby's like, "Do you have the proper paperwork or could you even?" I'm like, "Could I show that it's medically necessary for a child to come once a week for a musculoskeletal condition? No, no." And then I do it for 20
That's
weeks,
hard.
and then, oh, they go away for 30 days, and then now it's not an M99.1, it's an M99.3. Now they have a low back like, "No,
Right.
Kirby, I'd
And
be
now they took
fucked."
another 30-day break, and now they're back. And oh, now another 30-day
Like,
break.
I
And you're
would
like,
be we would be fucked. And he's like, "Well, then I think we need to get out." And so that's the main reason we got out. But like Prevea is a main healthcare system that just shut down in our area that just completely shut down a bunch of hospitals,
oh
brand
yeah,
new
I heard that.
hospitals. Yeah, tons of hospitals shut down. And it was basically because they couldn't afford to stay open with Medicaid's reimbursement. So, like with all of our stuff, our cost per adjustment is if I have 2 associates, 3 associates on board, our cost per adjustment is going to be somewhere north of $25, south of 30. I don't remember, it depends. Okay,
Mhm.
so literally that means if my cost per adjustment is 26.50 and I get paid 25.32 for Medicaid every time I have a doc paying or adjusting, like I'm losing 60 cents. Well, I don't know what math I said, whatever, less than a
Yeah,
dollar.
right, right.
So it's just like, no wonder, so it's like it's a fucked up system in Wisconsin. It's
It
interesting. It's golden handcuffs, that's for sure.
yeah, right, right. So, yeah, it's kinda crazy.
Okay, so we got off track a little bit, but that's fine. They're used to it. Now they know something about state Medicaid. And
Yeah.
so, how did you get introduced to real estate as a concept of like developing wealth? So, like beyond just like owning your building, because like a lot of chiros are like, yeah, I would rather pay rent to myself. But like, when did it, like, the light bulb, was there like this light bulb moment, a book you read, a seminar you went to, conversation that really was like, oh, this is like what all the rich people are doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for me, it was social media. Like, I just started like following enough of these like broy dudes that are like, here's what you do. You take this one and do this and that. And then it was just like, oh, this is like
Yeah.
and everyone's like, everybody was like, oh, and this is my real estate portfolio. And so like that for me was probably like 3 years ago where it was like, oh, I wasn't thinking about real estate as a wealth tool.
Yeah. Probably I kind of always knew like that is like a wealth tool. That's what like a lot of, people that have a lot of wealth do. I started, like I said, I started my practice in 99. I started renting and I knew I didn't want to continue to rent. So then in 2001, I bought a bill. Oh, I bought a building and I ended up tearing it down. I was just going to remodel it for my
Well,
client.
in 2001, I mean, how
Yeah,
much was your building? Do you remember?
90,000.
Yeah.
Yep, 90,000 for an old shitty building.
Oh,
It was like an old gas station, but
yeah.
so I did that, and then just focusing on building up my practice. And no, kind of in the back of my mind, I always thought, oh, I'd like to do more real estate, but just didn't do a lot. I think that you asked about like books or whatever. Okay, they didn't have social media back then, right? So
Right. Yeah.
so old. So books. One of the books that I read, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, mhm.
Have you read that one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I read that one back when it first came out, whatever,
It's
years ago.
I don't understand what about that is so like it stands the test of time of like it's a great book. Like I think it's just I think it's the mindset shift. Like it's really that simplicity where you start to think about assets and
Mhm.
liabilities. And
Right.
it's so micro, like in the like picture, but like it's the
Yeah.
shift because we went to chiropractic school. Like we
Yeah.
weren't taught to think about money this way. And
Right.
then it's like, oh, that's how money works is assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember reading that book when it first came out, and I'm like, yeah. And I think that just kind of solidified more. Oh, I should do more real estate. And then you get busy and you have kids, and your practice is busy, and I kind of put it off on the back burner. And then in like 2006, something like that, 2005, I took some class. I think he was a chiropractor. It was like it wasn't even a webinar. I don't think they had webinars in 2006, did they? I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
So I took some class. Some guy was teaching real estate and how to like, it was more like single family homes, like cookie cutter homes, and
Mhm.
go in and buy them like pre-construction or
Yep.
during construction or even pre-construction, I think it was. I don't remember much about it. And then, he had, kind of like step by step how you do this and start investing in those. So I took his class and I went to Florida and started looking for properties.
Cool. Oh, this is
Yeah,
2006 though, but yeah.
this is
Okay.
2006. Yes. Then I knew I was like, at this point, I knew I was going to like be exiting chiropractic when I was 50, I thought. And then, oh, so then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do when I retire? Right? When I sell my practice, I have to have something to do. I want to do something. And I started doing more like functional medicine stuff, thinking, oh, I'll do like online, like functional medicine. That would be fun. And I can do it from anywhere. And kind of going back to what you were saying, like traveling and what can I do from anywhere? And Dave is older than me, right? He's 66.
Right.
And so I'm like, he's going to want to slow down and he's
Mhm.
going to want to travel more. So I'm going to have that freedom as well. So I thought, oh, I'll do that. And then it just kind of was like not easy, like getting that up and going and then trying to do it in the practice and just kind of with our patient demographics. I don't know, it just didn't work. And looking back, it's like it didn't work because that's not really what I was meant to do, I don't think. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do like coaching for chiropractors. I could do that. A lot of people come to me and ask me questions, and I'm kind of doing that now for free. So I kind of thought of that, and I actually built out a course, like a leadership course, but then I just never did anything with it. And I'm like, hmm. And then something in the back of my mind went back to the real estate thing. I'm like, I'm just going to do real estate. And then I started going to like meetings, like finding networking meetings, and then it just
Yeah,
kind of
so what would you okay, so you make this decision that at your kind of like your pre-retirement plan is that you're going to start getting into real estate. Walk someone who is whether they're like out of their office completely or not, like what are some of the steps that you did early on to like get comfortable and like getting involved in this
uh,
arena?
and comfortable getting into real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I had a little bit of experience, like I said, with the commercial stuff and taking some of the classes over the years and books. And then when I just really decided, just more like podcasts, my big thing was going to these meetings, like real estate investor meetings. Like I said, we've got
Yeah, what are those called again?
the WISCO-RIA, Wisconsin Real Estate Investors Association.
Okay, so I bet every
And
state has and you can just show up to that, or did you become a real estate agent?
no, I don't have a license.
Okay,
Nope.
so you
I'm
just
just an investor. You don't have to have a
okay,
license to do any of that. But I'm like, I want to learn more. I want to get into this more. So I
okay,
started.
I have a weird question. Like, where people are like, "Why are you here?"
No, not at all.
No,
Nope.
okay, because I know
No.
some people can be like, "I
Mm-mm.
can't I can't just show up and be like" some people, not me, totally not me.
No, I know people were really good. I mean, I met a lot of people through those meetings,
And
and
when you introduce yourself, you say, "No, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm here as a potential investor." Is the
you
words
don't really, yeah, like you don't have to say I'm not a real estate agent
My
because
name is Lauren Brunswick, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I shouldn't be here. I'm an imposter.
uh,
They're
yeah,
like, "Ma'am,
I
why
might have
did
said
you stand
something
up?
along those
We
lines.
we're not introducing ourselves. Please sit down."
Actually, they do ask like new people at the meetings, "Oh, come on up if you've never been to a meeting,
Okay, so what did you say? Because I want to go to these meetings, but I'm like, this is not, you know.
You know what? They're super cool. Like everyone is so welcoming. You do not have to
"Oh,
worry about it
all
at all.
right, if
I
you
mean,
say
I
so."
was. I know I was when I first went. I just said, yeah, I'm a chiropractor. I'm looking to do more real estate. I'm selling my practice, in the
Okay,
future. Want to transition into real estate, and I'm here to just learn and meet new people. And everyone's super welcoming and
okay, all right.
oh,
Well,
that's
that's good to
awesome.
know. All right.
Yeah. And especially a lot of the like wholesalers and people that want to, that have real estate that they want to sell are going to, be coming to you and saying, "Oh, I've
Yep.
got this deal or that deal." So I started networking with a lot of those people and meeting those people. And that's how I found a lot of my properties like off market and found like really good deals and kind of
Okay.
getting into it.
Was going to those meetings, starting to meet the people, kind of putting it out there. So I would assume like kind of putting out there, like, here's my budget for investment type thing, because like some of these things, like especially like syndicate deals or, whatever, it may be like, okay, cool. So do you have 100,000 like liquid that you could, and you're like, oh, maybe, like type of thing. So it really depends, but if you were like, "No, I have more like this," but again, you're finding those people who are the movers and shakers, and they're like because they need money. Like they and so if like you're a possible investor and they
Yes.
meet you, like you have something that they definitely want. Like with syndicates and stuff, this is a team thing. So showing up, being
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, and this is most of them. This is all they do. They're just real estate investors. Some of them, if they're wholesalers, that's all they do. They look for properties like distressed properties and that they can like sell to another buyer. So, you know,
yeah.
probably what
So just the
they
learning curve for sure. Another thing, do you listen to Bigger Pockets Real Estate?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
like that one's, again, just nice so you don't feel like a complete noob. Okay, so talk to me about this current project that because you started investing, now you're involved in a syndicate. So how did you get involved on this side of things?
So, okay, so I started with, more like, well, the commercial properties and then single family. I had some I do have some smaller multifamily properties. And because I knew I was selling the practice, and they say, okay, real estate is kind of a long game, right? It
Mhm.
takes, I'm like, I don't have a while. So
You're like,
let's do this. Let's get this
okay,
done.
yep.
So, going to the meetings, I met, there's a speaker there, and he was a syndicator and had properties there that he was promoting, looking for passive investors. And I'm like, there was one of the properties, I'm like, that interests me. So I started talking with him, and I said, I want to invest passively in this property, which was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So invested with him and just talking to him about different things and real estate wise. And I told him, I ended up having a conversation saying, yeah, this is what I'm doing, selling my practice. In a few years, I really want to, do real estate full time as an investor and go big and go fast. How do I get like these big apartment complexes? And he's like, you do syndications. I'm like, okay, like what is that? Tell me about it. So, I had never heard about it. I didn't know. I mean, but that's how, people
That's
acquire big
how.
hotels and,
Mhm.
huge apartment complexes and all that sort of thing. So I talked with him. I said, yeah, can you teach me how to do that? He's like, yeah. And he does real estate coaching. So I hired him as my coach. And so started working with him, learning all, everything with syndications. And then we found a property, and I partnered with him on one of the properties, on a property in Tulsa. Um, and so that's how I got into syndications. And so I'm like, okay, I still have my smaller stuff, the
Mhm.
single family and multifamily, but I'm looking at doing more with the bigger stuff and doing more syndications, especially like this year. Kind of going back to the first question you asked me, like what's on my vision board. I'd like to find at least two more properties this year, do two more
So
deals
get
this
2
year.
more projects going.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so with you have the Tulsa project is still going. Are you still
Yeah.
looking for investors in that?
You're still looking for, yep, passive partners, passive investors. So
So a
basically,
passive partner means, "Here's my money.
yep,
You're gonna tell me when I would get my money back with an estimated percent,
yes.
return." Are we allowed to ask, like, so what is the, like, general terms of, like, how much money does it take to become involved in the Tulsa project? And then what are the return rates on that? Or am I allowed to
Yep.
ask that?
No, you can ask that. Yep.
Sorry, I should have brought it.
I do have to say that this particular offering is only for accredited investors. So what that means is,
Accredited investors, that's what I was trying to get.
oh,
That was the
oh,
term I was
sorry.
trying to figure out before. Accredited
Yes.
investors.
Okay, yes. So yes, that's what it is. So an accredited investor means, so you have non-accredited and accredited. Accredited means that you have to meet a few different requirements per the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission. And so what it has to be is you have to have a net worth of over a million dollars or more, not including your primary residence, or you have to have made $200,000 per year or more the past 2 years, and projected in the coming year as a single person, or $300,000 as a couple. So that would make someone accredited. So if you're accredited, then you can invest in this Tulsa deal that we have. So, and it's a 65 unit apartment complex in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which Tulsa, I don't know if anyone really knows much about Tulsa. You'd probably think Tulsa, Oklahoma. Why would you go there? But it's like huge, growing. We look for markets that are showing a lot of growth population wise, income growth, job growth, that sort of thing. And Tulsa is growing by leaps and bounds. They have a program right now, or they did actually in I think 2022. They were paying people that work from home like $10,000 to move to Tulsa and continue to work from home. So many people took advantage of that. They ran out of money. Yeah, And then now they've re-implemented that program. So they've got a lot more people moving to Tulsa. They're building all this stuff. I mean, it's like aerospace, tech, healthcare. They're
Cool.
building some huge amusement park outside of Tulsa, like that's supposed to be equivalent to Disney.
Hmm.
So just all this stuff going
Who
on.
knew?
I
Tulsa's
know.
gonna be the next Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the buy-in price? What's the term
Okay,
rate?
so to be okay, so yeah, you asked me
Have to
that,
be
and
an
I
accredited investor.
accredited, you have to be accredited. This offering, it's a minimum of $50,000
Okay.
that you have to invest minimum. The returns are 17% IRR, internal rate of return, meaning you make projected 17% per year on the
Per
money
year.
per year that you invest. 7% of that is a preferred return, which means of that 17%, 7% you get paid along the way.
Okay.
The years that we hold it. And we're holding this property for like 5 years. Then
Okay.
at the end of 5 years, we exit, we sell the property, and then you get the remainder of that 17%, that 10%. Basically, it's called a 2.08 equity multiple, which means you're going to a little bit more than double your money in that time that
In
we
that
hold.
5 years.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
And like that preferred return, we pay out along the way. So like quarterly. So you'd get
Okay.
cash flow
I feel like
along.
we all just learned a lot. Like these are good terms. Like, okay, these are questions to ask and these are terms. So, okay, so how would somebody get in contact with you? Well, first of all, do you just call your bank and go, I would like to become an accredited investor? And how long does that process take if you're
Um,
like,
well, no, you don't even have to call the bank. So like if you want to invest, if you kind of know that you meet those terms,
mhm,
then like say you want to invest in this property that we have in Tulsa, you'd go into our investment investor portal, and then you have to like upload either
okay, so like
tax returns,
you could,
or you'd have to get a letter of accreditation from either a CPA or your accountant, your
okay.
CPA, an attorney, or a financial advisor. And it could be like a simple letter, like, yes, Lauren,
Oh, that's it. So
as
it's not like an whatever,
SEC.
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
application and the
no, it's
government
not.
is
No, you don't get
okay,
accredited through the SEC, but that's their requirement. So
okay.
you get a letter from one of those three people
Oh,
and upload it into our portal, and then we just approve, like, yep, you're accredited.
cool.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's not that hard.
So where should someone go? Do you want them to email you? Is there a website? How do people get more
We have a
information?
website.
Okay.
I'll tell you the website. It's ascendequitygrp.com, or you can email me, and it's just kategress@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Or you can call me 715-219-0584. Doesn't
She
matter.
just put it out there. All right. She don't know what kind of creeps are listening, but okay.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, Kate. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Like this really is in alignment with a lot of stuff that everything I'm trying to create with chiropractors in the brand. So I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation. Chiros and non-chiros, you do not have to be a chiro to invest in this. So if you're one of our non-chiro listeners, obviously, you just need the accreditation and then to reach out. Start going to your meetings. Somebody tag me if they go to a meeting. Give me the courage that they didn't throw rotten fruit at you. That
They did
"What are you
all
doing
the
here?
fine.
Somebody prove it that Kate just didn't go to a really nice group because it's Wisconsin." So somebody like down in like over in the East Coast, go to one of your things and let me know if they were still nice. If you like this type of information, make sure you are subscribed to our newsletter. We send out weekly little stories and tips and summaries of the episodes. Yeah, and that's everything I got. Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
This
me
was
on the podcast.
wonderful. And if you haven't listened to her husband's episode, Dave Michael was the week before. Go listen to that. We talk about completely different things, but they're a cute little power couple. All
Thank
right.
you.
Until next week, She Slayers. Bye.